We are in the dead center of Iran, where all revolves around one element, Earth. An abandoned mud village, the dry and rocky landscapes, the surprisingly beautiful town of Yazd. These are some of the highlights of this episode. We also visit a castle in the desert and have some funny and less pleasant anecdotes about arriving in Iran. We have already spent a month in Iran and are finally getting to the country's center. From east of Shiraz, we cross the first flat plains aiming for Kharanagh, then U-turning to Yazd for a couple of days of relaxation. From here on, it's more dry lands, sand and rocky hills. We cross for the third and final time the Zagros Mountains to eventually arrive in Kharānaq. We are camping in the Dar-e-Anjir Wildlife Refuge, a windy place surrounded on one side by amazing darkening rock mountains, as far as the eye can see, and by the desert on the other. This is about 70 kilometers north of Yazd, close to the village of Kharanaq that we will now visit.
Soup. Spinach soup. Soup. Oh, very nice. Potato? Oh, bread. Yeah.
Kharanaq is an abandoned old village completely built entirely of mud and was once known as a world and historical city. People have lived within this area for at least 4,500 years. The clusters of mud brick buildings with their rounded shapes and rugged exteriors make it look as though they are all melting into the earth. Many buildings in Kharanaq are completely collapsed or ramshackle, but among them the remaining mosque from the Qajar period, a shaking minaret from the 17th century, and the caravanserai of the city have been reconstructed and can be visited. As Kharanaq is perched on the slope of a steep hill, there are several vantage points that allow you to appreciate the beauty of the village and surrounding farmland. Kharanaq is a good example of what the much more famous city of Bam was before an earthquake destroyed it almost completely in 2003. Not far from the village is an ancient bridge that farmers still use today. We are particularly fascinated by this inhospitable yet warm landscape, so bear with us for another few clips. Let's come to a funny anecdote. Do you know what the numbers on the bottom corners are for? Yes, you're right. These are the counts of the signposts. 1.5 kilometers later, we have 120 warning signs, one sign every 12.5 meters. And it went on, and is in the middle of the desert. I guess someone has made money hand over fist here. Geographically speaking, the Dari Anjir Wildlife Refuge is pretty much dead center. We are in Yazd, one of the few cities under the UNESCO Heritage Program and at the crossroad of the Spice and Silk Roads. The architectural centerpiece, the Amir Chakmak complex, is located in the heart of the city. The imposing three-story facade flaunts a number of beautiful symmetrical ivans which light up and glow after sunset. It is one of the largest Hosseinies in the country. These are buildings used in the commemorative ceremonies for Imam Hussein's death and dates back to the 15th century, although it has undergone numerous renovations. Walking around the narrow lanes, we casually enter a district where old traditional puppets and toys are displayed. I've done some research but couldn't find anything describing this tradition. If you know, please comment below. Note in particular the puppetry scenes that are stuck upside down to the ceiling. We also attended a Kharanagh, a traditional type of athletics originally used to train warriors in Persia and Asia's land. It is practiced in a domed structure and consists mainly of ritual gymnastic movements combining martial arts, calisthenics, strength training and music. Recognized by UNESCO as the world's longest-running form of such training, it fuses elements of pre-Islamic Persian culture, particularly Zoroastrian, Mithraism and Gnosticism, with the spirituality of Shia Islam and Sufism. Our visit in Yazd is coincidentally on Imam Mahdi's birthday. The entire city is decorated. Shows are performed and festivals are celebrated in every quarter of the city. And there are fireworks too. Luckily, our vehicle wasn't blown up. About 50 kilometers south of Yazd, the Yazd castle rises like a giant sandcastle from the desert. Built during the Sassanid dynasty in the 7th century, this magnificent fortress was used to store grains and food, but also to safeguard valuables like gold and jewels when Yazd came under assault. You could explore the maze-like interior for hours, though it will take some agility and fitness. But if you can make it to the top of the tallest tower, you will be rewarded with a stunning view of the surrounding desert and mountains. This ancient bank is still in excellent conditions. The main exterior walls and the towers are intact, and the interior, filled with 480 chambers over 3 floors, gives you a memorable experience of what life in this castle once was. Surrounding the castle there are nested concentric walls with unusually high towers and a 20-foot wide moat. During the entire trip we had strong winds, and on the road this can turn into a real hazard. What initially seems to be just some sand blown across the road suddenly turns into a little desert sandstorm. Look at the white car on the left that stops well beyond the road shoulders. You can't see a damn thing, not the nicest of the experience when you have huge lorries behind and in front of you. One more rather curious attraction is a stone garden near Sirjan, built by a local farmer named Darwish Khan Isfandiarpur. He was both deaf and mute. Following the land reform in 1962, Darwish Khan lost his entire land, and very disappointed, he decided to express his anger through a unique form of action. He first created pits in the dry land of the region, planting a total of 180 dry trees, and then hung small and large pierced rocks from its branches. Crossing the Zagros Mountains for the third and final time, we are rewarded with stunning scenery through these beautiful hills well over 2,500 meters above sea level. Our journey will now continue into the Khalut Desert, but that's a story for next time.